What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update as requested to Pure Fire Kings. Now to make this a little bit different from my previous build, as unfortunately not a huge amount have changed, I've actually designed this deck to be a bit more go second. So rather than utilising loads of hand traps, we're actually going to be utilising the ability of board breakers, while also trying to push the boat out to kind of consistently OTK where at all possible, and if not, you're then able to control your opponent's board on the crackback so that they can't overwhelm you and then end up winning in the next turn. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I've also maintained budget as a factor in building this deck, so there aren't any too crazy cards. Unfortunately, the biggest card we do play is Triple Tactics Thrust, which I thought would go down in price because of the most recent reprint, but unfortunately it was slightly buried in the set. So that's probably something you might need to look at. But if you don't have access to these Triple Tactics Thrust, then what you can consider is just doubling up on some of the cards you do have access to that will be your Triple Tactic Thrust targets. So starting off with two Sacred Fire King Garunics and one of the Fire King High Avatar Garunics. Now obviously the High Avatar is more of a something for more the grind game, and what I mean by that is if you're going to be pushing for the OTK, you're going to go for the original Garunics just to keep it floating around from the graveyard back to the board and everything in between. But then with something like the Avatar, what it provides you with is it provides you with a card that your opponent is always going to be fearful of, or if they foolishly forget about it, it can come back and then straight away you'll be trading one of their negates for it if they do have one, and if not, you're taking care of their entire board. Then of course we do play triple Fire King High Avatar Kirin. This is the most important aggressor and of course interactor for your entire deck. Now what I mean by that is it's a great aggressor in your hand, be able to pop one of your fire monsters, summon itself down. That can help you facilitate the OTK, but it's also a great interruption during your opponent's turn, and it is just the one that balances everything else. Yes, of course Garunics is a great version as well, but the issue is Garunics needs you to pop a fire monster or a fire monster be destroyed, whereas Avatar Kirin just needs to be able to destroy said monster. So what I mean by that is the Avatar does the effect for you, whereas the Garunics needs another card involved to get rid of that fire card for you. So basically 2-card combo in a sense and a 3-card combo in that element if you were just to take them card for card. In the pure version, of course, your most important card is going to be your Fire King Ponix, so you do need to make sure that you are maxing out on this card. There's no reason to be playing any less of this, and to be completely honest, you're probably going to be playing one more copy of it at all, because that is going to be in the form of 1-for-1 that we'll get to a little bit later on. But the idea is, when you're playing the pure version of this deck, as people have mentioned, and I completely agree with, it is not optimized. If you wanted to upgrade and you wanted to optimize the Fire King deck, that's when you start looking at additional engines in the form of something along the lines of maybe Horus if you wanted to feel rank 8 spicy, or of course the most common one being Snake Eyes. You do also have Tri-Brigade, which does maintain a bit of a budget element. Get it out there eventually. And then of course you can consider the Dogmatica or the Nadir package, which also helps you get your consistent access to your Ponix. The idea is that when you're playing something like OSS, so Original Sinful Spoils, you're going to have more ways of being able to get to your Ponix, which is what you need to do for your Fire Kings. For the rest of the Fire Kings, we are playing double Avatar plus 1 Ragbali and the 1 Barong. Now this ratio, in my opinion, is entirely up to you. If you want to play 3 Avatar, by all means you can do, take out the Ragbali. The Barong is a little bit slower in this version because, like I said, we're aiming for the OTK, so you don't really want to be seeing the Barong or the Ragbali in the hand, but these are just ones for those grind games, which is why we're playing them at 1 rather than maxing them out or going any higher, and they are completely, in my opinion, down to personal preference. So some people do like to play 3 Avatar, which is kind of like the baseline of what you'd want to be doing for it. I quite like going with 2 Avatar, the 1 Barong and 1 Ragbali, just because it's designed to be a little bit more aggressive. If I do hard open up the Avatar, then of course I can normal summon it, but I ideally want my normal summon to be the Ponix, and then that's going to pretty much get everything else going for me. Speaking of which, cards that your opponents can get you access to is of course Sanctuary, and then the Sanctuary will get you into Fire King Island. Now of course you can cut the Sanctuary down if you want to, but like I've mentioned throughout this profile, because you have less access to your Ponix, you do need to be a little bit careful, because you kind of want those chances that you hard open up the ideal target off of the back of the Ponix being the Sanctuary in the pure build, so that if they do either negate the Ponix or just stop you getting access to it, you still have that option or the ability to hard open the target card that you want to go for, and then you're basically going to go Island, pop Ponix, get you into Garunix summon itself down, and off you go. And that's why you want to be maxing out on something like Kirin as well, because if you hard open a Garunix, you can search out the Kirin. And if you hard open a Kirin, you search out the Garunix. And that's just how you're going to be able to get your bigger, stronger boss monsters on the board to help you complete an OTK or a push of some sort. The one big difference between this version and a normal balanced or go first version is you can actually play Onslaught of the Fire Kings. So this one, for those that do not know, is if only your opponent controls a monster, you get to special summon a Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monster from your deck, but its effects are negated and you destroy it during the end phase. But you can only activate one on Onslaught of the Fire Kings per turn. Now this is completely up to you, and take it out if you want to. I just quite like the idea that I haven't really built a Fire King version that even played this card before, and I was like, you know what, if I'm building the deck to go second, if I'm building the deck to be a little bit more aggressive, this card can actually really help you, because not only can it help get you any level out of your deck, technically, like a level 4, level 1, or a level 8, you don't mind about having its effects negated, because when you're going for your level 8s, you're basically going to set yourself up with an aggressor on the board that's going to help you push for an OTK, or you're going for a level 8 to make a rank 8, which can help you ultimately nuke your opponent's board, or of course push you into an OTK that you'll see with the rest of the extra deck. So in this particular version, this is a card that is well worth playing, but in a balanced version or a go first version, it's definitely a card you would take out. Then the last of the one-offs, we play the one Circle of the Fire Kings and the one Fire King Skyburn. Now obviously this is probably more ideal for going second, because it allows you to pop up to the number of cards equal to the number of Fire Kings that you control. Unfortunately, it does require you to have the Fire Kings, so you're not really going to want to max out on this in comparison to playing something along the lines of Dark Hole, Lightning Storm, or maybe even Raigeki should you want to consider it, but I also go with Harpy's Feather Duster. Now, the reason I went with Dark Hole instead of Raigeki is for the pure fact that Dark Hole can actually help you trigger your own effects if you want to be entering that grind game. Keep in mind, in a grind game, if you were to have, for example, a Ponix on the board and they stopped it completely, you've got no way of getting to Fire King Island to destroy it, but you've got a Garunix sitting in your hand or in the graveyard, you Dark Hole, you pretty much get the exact same outcome that you need, and not a lot of people are prepared to deal with a Dark Hole or even expect a Dark Hole to drop. Obviously, the Lightning Storm gives you the benefit of being able to deal with front row and back row, and then Duster deals with back row. So you technically have like 3 in each. So like you've got the balance here, and then you've got the balance here, which is why we go a 2 and a 2. So it's kind of a cool little breakout. Then of course for the Triple Tactics Frost, keep in mind that those spells that I've just shown you are all Triple Tactic Frost targets, as well as the Onslaught as well. Not that you should really be going for the Onslaught with something like the Frost, you're better off getting in one of your better board breakers, but just something to mention. So then your other targets over the back of the Frost can be Triple Tactic Talents, Change of Heart, and Mind Control. I actually really rate these cards right now. I feel that a lot of people kind of take them for granted, and what I mean by that is when I was playing my Exodia build, and when I play a build like this as well, a lot of people just don't really expect to change a heart or a mind control, and at the very least you're doing a 1-for-1 trade, because if they've got a card to negate on your to negate the change of heart or the mind control, then straight away they will do it. If they don't, you're taking one of their monsters that can then help you either move into your link plays, or you take away one of their core pieces that they need to trigger in order to get everything else moving. It obviously was a little bit more effective against Appaloosa, because obviously it couldn't stop this. You stole the Appaloosa and you're like, yay, happy days, I now have an Appaloosa. Now that isn't the case, but it's still an incredibly powerful one of cards. And again, like I said, if you don't have access to Triple Tactics Frost, you will double up the cards that you legally can double up, because obviously keep in mind if they're on the ban list, you're not going to be able to do so. But then it also gives you the option to put in stuff like Raigeki if you want to, or you go, you know what, I just want to shift back to the hand trap version, put in Ashes, put in Imperms and play around that way. The other one that we do play, and apologies for a different sleep, it's currently in my main deck right now, is 1-for-1. Like I said, you want to get access to your Ponix. The final spell card that we play is the triple Forbidden Droplet. Like I said, we're going second. We want to be aggressive. We want to be able to put as little investment to our board as possible. So we want to be relying on that one card Ponix to resolve. Droplet, not only can it help you dodge certain targeted effects, but it also gives you that ability to halve your opponent's attacks to help make your OTK a little bit more consistent and a little bit more effective, as well as being one of them cards that if you do get forced to go first, you can set it and still interact with your opponent. And the final card we are playing is, like I said before, one of probably the strongest, if not the best hand trap right now as a general monster, just because I feel there are less and less decks that can protect from it. So it's one of the ones that if you're going to a local environment for sure, which is what I'd expect you to be doing with a pure build of Fire Kings like this, the chances are the decks naturally aren't able to protect from Nibiru before the 5th summon. So you're able to just go, okay, cool, 5th summon Nibiru, and then they really do struggle to recur. So when you look at stuff like, or other decks along the lines of like heroes, they can't really get to a protection before Nibiru hits them, and they can't even get to a protection at the end of the main phase. You're happy to just let them have it, and then you go Nibiru, and the best thing that they will do is they'll be able to float around with like, wake up your elemental hero and destroy a Phoenix Enforcer, which technically destroy a Phoenix Enforcer actually helps your deck because you then kind of force them to pop your own Fire King cards, or you put DPE in a position where you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to kill DPE and you're not going to be able to do anything. Again, completely up to you. If you want to take it out, take it out. You want to side it out, side it out. Really is up to you on the personal preference on the building of this deck. I'm just giving you a bit of a baseline structure so you can kind of see like, okay, cool. So if I want to go first, I can do that. And if I want to go aggressive, I can do that. And then the best thing about it, when you've seen a go first build and you've seen an aggressive build, it also gives you the idea that if you wanted to technically merge the two together, you then take out the 15 cards for going first and put them into your side deck, and you can take out the 15 go second cards and put them in the side deck if you wanted to, or you can do a mix of the match and then go, cool, I've got my main deck and I've also got my side deck ready to roll. Moving on to the extra deck, so for the rank 8s, we are playing the 1 Grunic's Eternity of the Fire Kings, followed up by the Hope Harbinger, and of course the number 7 Dragula Bomb. Now the reason we're playing these ones, as well as a Dingirshu, is the idea is that you're going to make Dragula Bomb, and if you're going first, whether it be game 2, whether it be game 3, or whether you just lose a dice roll and they make you go first, you can still make Dragula Bomb to set you up a Hope Harbinger and negate. But the ideal scenario is you're going to make Dragula Bomb go in second, and you're going to make your Numeron Dragon, which will then allow you to push in for hopefully what will be the OTK from 9k. I like the option of Ding just because it gives you that nice little destruction protection, as well as that non-target send, which can really catch your opponent off guard when they're expecting everything to be destroyed or everything like that, and you just go, cool, Ding, send, and they're like, ah, yeah, that's still a card. And then of course you've got your Grunic's as just the generic rank 8 that you can make in this deck to pretty much blow up the board, which is really effective. Then moving on to the Link monsters. For Link 1, Relinquish Anima, like you're going second, is probably like one of the better options you could possibly have for yourself. I do play the Moon of the Close Heavens, and I play this with the Underworld Goddess, just because I think this is a great Link 2 to go second, and then you get to use 2 of your opponent's monsters to make Underworld Goddess. Like, happy days, really. Again, completely flexible. Take it out, swap it around, go with an Almirage if you really want to as well. You've got loads of different options. And then, of course, generic fire cards in the form of Hita, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Princess, Promethean Princess, which obviously to get out the Promethean Princess lock, you're going to go into the Amber Whale. Of course, if you want to, you can go into the Pyro Phoenix. I'm still going to be going into the Amber Whale, which can get me into Zelantis, because again, like I said, go second, aggression, you want to be able to make something like Zelantis. That can, of course, bring back the Princess, you can pop more cards, you can do whatever you need to, you can push for OTKs. And then the fun 2 cards is the 1 Nightmare Unicorn. And then what I quite like to be swapping in and out depending on what mood I'm feeling in, we do play the 1 Topologic. Now this can be Trispana, this can be Bomber Dragon, it really is up to you. My personal favourite of the Topologics is Zeroboros, just because of how kind of funny and powerful it is. So for people that are unfamiliar with this card, it's basically taking the slot of Appaloosa. Not that it's going to do the exact same job, but it gives you a very nice aggressive option for a bit of a growing game. Now what I mean by that one is that you cannot summon or set monsters to any of the extra monster zones this card points to. Now this card does have a float back effect, so when it floats back, the idea is you want to put it in the center zone, so you lock out the 2 zones, left and right. Obviously that means for you can't put a Link monster there, but it does mean as soon as they put a Link monster there, it will trigger its effect. So it gains 200 attack for each banished card. And then if another monster is special summoned to a zone a Link monster points to, being itself, while this monster is on the field, you get to banish all cards on the field. And then once per turn, during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon this banished card. So also you're going to be able to make it stronger and stronger every time it banishes and comes back. But the idea is you're going to be putting it into the extra monster zone. So you're going to have 2 zones that you can summon to. They're going to have 2 zones that they're going to want to try and avoid so they don't trigger off the Zeroboros. And then that's, of course, where your High Avatar Kirin comes into play, because you can High Avatar Kirin, destroy a card, and summon to a zone it points to, as long as you're not going to the extra monster zone. Then the best thing about it is that when you bring it back and put it into the center zone, it's pointing to their 2 Link zones. So as soon as they want to try and make a Link summon, they will automatically trigger the Zeroboros, which will then banish the entire board. So it means that they either can't Link summon or they need to bait out with a Link summon before that happens. When they do that, you then still have ways to float back and forth depending on what else you have on the board and other ways of getting cards to said board, which is also, while being able to play a card that gives you recursion or additional board breakers, is massively important. So that, ladies and gentlemen, and everything else between. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Like I said at the start of the video, this is not the best ever Fire King profile you will see, but it does fit certain criteria for what you have requested. It is a pure version, which I do feel will get even better when we do officially or finally get the jump promo that the OCG got and is all currently in Master Duel. I also do feel that a build like this would actually be really good for Master Duel because it does kind of conform to what the Master Duel lineup is like. Obviously the difference is you'll be putting in stuff like Max C's because that will help you get to your board breakers. You'd also be putting in the other Fire King card, and I keep forgetting its name. I think it's like Utrix or something. Apologies, I know someone will put it in the comments down below of exactly what the name is. But you just add that in, and then this version of the deck just gets stronger and more effective. So whether you want to be playing in Master Duel, whether you want to take it to locals and just be like, I quite like the idea of sitting back, let my opponent just do their thing for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then just go, wham, bam, thank you, man, board breaker, OTK. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Like I said, comments down below, and I will answer any questions that you may have. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.